It's a Friday night, 9 p.m. Your phone has been quiet for 4 hours, and you haven't noticed. There's a half-finished book on the couch beside you, tea going cold, and a window showing the kind of dark that feels private, not lonely, just yours. Then someone asks you at work, at a family dinner, in that tone, "Don't you have any friends?" And something small hardens in your chest, not because they're wrong about the facts, but because they think they're right about what the facts mean. They're not. Leave a comment if you've heard that exact tone. You'll know if you have. Today we're talking about the psychology behind having no friends. Not the kind that comes from awkwardness or social failure, though we'll get to why that assumption is so persistent. We're talking about something far more intentional, far more complex, and far more common than anyone admits. This video is for anyone who has ever felt more like themselves alone than in a crowd. Who has watched their friendships slowly fade and felt relief? Stay until the end, because the last thing I'll say reframes every single thing you've ever been told about yourself. Let's start where it actually starts. Not with you, with a younger version of you. Psychologist John Bowlby spent decades studying what happens to children when their need for connection goes consistently unmet. Not neglect in the dramatic sense, just unpredictability. Picture this: a boy, 8 years old. Monday dinner, his dad is laughing, asking about school, fully there. The same table, the same chairs. 1 week later and his dad is somewhere else entirely, present in body, unreachable in every way that matters. The boy doesn't understand why. He just learns, quietly, that warmth is weather, not climate. It can change, without warning, without reason, and without anything you did wrong. What children learn in those moments isn't "I got hurt." What they learn is, connection is a variable I cannot control, and the nervous system, brilliant and ruthless, begins to adapt. This is attachment theory at its most fundamental, and it doesn't stay in childhood. It walks out with you. But here's something most people never hear, and it's bigger than any one childhood. Sociologists call them third places, not home, not work, but the barber shop, the pub, the community pool. The spaces where you didn't choose your company, and that was the point. We dismantled them, and then told people the fault was personal. The conditions for friendship quietly disappeared, and nobody bothered to mention it. So before you call this a personal failure, understand, you are living inside a system designed to make connection difficult. The wound didn't only start with you. Part of it was already waiting. Now, back to that boy. He doesn't withdraw dramatically, no one would even notice. He just gets very, very good at being self-sufficient. He stops asking for help before he needs it. He starts finishing his own sentences before anyone else can. He learns to read a room faster than anyone else, because reading the room is how he stays safe. By the time he's 40, he is extraordinary at being alone. He schedules a coffee with someone interesting 3 weeks out, because that's how life works now. They both arrive slightly performative, slightly tired. It never quite becomes anything. And he's not sure anymore whether that's the world's fault, or the reflex he built at 8 years old, or whether there's even a difference. He has built a life that doesn't require anyone, and when people call that a flaw, they are looking at a fortress and calling it a ruin. Here's the mechanism underneath all of it. What starts as an external adaptation, I will need less, so I will be hurt less, eventually becomes something your nervous system runs automatically. A psychologist would call it a schema. A more honest word is a reflex. Here's what it actually looks like. She learned to read her mother's moods like weather reports, not the dramatic kind, just the daily kind, the kind that teaches you to check the air before you speak. By the time she's in her 40s, she doesn't do it consciously anymore. It just runs. So when she meets someone at a work event, funny, direct, no performance, the external picture is two people laughing over bad conference coffee. But internally, in the space of 30 seconds, she seems real. But I'd have to explain myself. And if it falls apart in 6 months, I'll have to see her in the hallway every day. The conversation ends warmly. They never text, not because she didn't like her, because somewhere in that calculation, quietly, she decided, not worth it. You've done this. You know the exact moment I'm describing when the door opened slightly and something in you, faster than thought, pushed it closed. That wasn't pessimism. That wasn't misanthropy. That was a very old piece of code your brain wrote when it was trying to protect someone who needed protecting. The problem is, it's still running. On people who aren't threats. In situations that aren't dangerous. Your nervous system never got the memo that the war ended. And here is the part nobody says. What looks like isolation from the outside is often a person protecting something real, a hard-won inner life, a kind of integrity that won't survive the compromise required to fit inside most friendships. People who live without friends are often the ones who found that most connections asked them to be a smaller, simpler version of themselves, and they refused. That refusal has a cost. It is a real loss, but it is not the same thing as failure. The wound didn't start with you, it traveled. A grandfather who came back from something he never named, who taught your father that depending on anyone was weakness. A father who was never taught how to stay. And you, sitting in the quiet of a Friday evening. And here is what I want you to hear, the thing I promised at the start. The fact that you feel this at all, the wondering, the small, honest question underneath the solitude, means the pattern hasn't finished with you yet. It's still moving. And the direction it moves next is something you get to have a say in. Not by forcing yourself into friendships that don't fit, not by performing connection you don't feel, but by asking, just once, with real curiosity rather than judgment, is this solitude what I want? Or is it what I learned to want? Those are different questions, and the space between them is where something new becomes possible. Before you go, 2 things, depending on who you are right now. If the solitude genuinely feels like yours, chosen, nourishing, enough, keep it, protect it. Just hold one question loosely, somewhere in the back of your mind. Is this still true? Not as a challenge, just as a check-in. If some part of you suspects you've learned to love the cage, don't push, don't perform, just notice. Once, a moment when you pulled back. When you calculated the exit before the possibility even finished forming. Ask yourself, what was I protecting? The answer doesn't have to change anything yet. Come tell me in the comments which one felt closer to true. I'll be reading, and so will everyone else watching this in their own quiet room tonight. If this is the kind of conversation you want to keep having, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.